The Minnesota Timberwolves will host one of the hottest teams in the Eastern Conference right now, the Philadelphia 76ers. We're talking about two players from the 2020 draft, Maxey and Edwards, going head to head. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Ooh, because both of these teams came to play. They came ready for the season. Both of them. Top of the six in their conferences. I mean, if you've watched the Timberwolves play, if you've watched the Philadelphia 76ers play, they got a new leash on this season. And whatever they coming to bring, every team got to be ready for it. So to see these two teams will be meeting up this for this go round is going to be something amazing. I just don't know what the outcome is going to be because I think at the end of the day, both of them are so competitive that it's going to be tooth and nail for sure. For sure.
Oh, yeah. And so happy to see Tobias Harris finally earning his $39 million contract, balling this season. And I just wonder, what was the catalyst for that? Was it James Harden leaving? Was it Nick Nurse coming? What is it? Is it Maxey at point? I mean, what is it that has fired up Tobias Harris?
I would say both. I think both. I think maybe the number one would be Doc, right? Because if your head, and in this case, Coach Rivers was the head of the of that environment. Now that that's gone, right? And I think Nick Nurse is bringing something new and fresh. I would say that would probably be the first piece, and then of course, now they got the sour out of there, with James Harden. And if you don't want to be there, it does change up how the environment is, right? And for someone to be such a pivotal point in their success or their demise, James Harden at the time, yeah, I'm quite sure that they're happy that he's not there anymore. And maybe that Tobias Harris is like, yeah, now we can finally be free of all of that noise and now create what our new future looks like. So I'm here for it. But yeah, Tyrese
Yeah.
Maxey, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid, y'all doing it. They doing it. Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Look, for the Timberwolves, I think they have developed the blue collar identity led by Anthony Edwards that Pat Bev started. I think Pat Bev started that culture shift when he was there for the Timberwolves. And now we're seeing the results of that. I mean, the Timberwolves playing pretty tough right now.
Yeah, they playing pretty tough, and it's gonna take a lot to get under their skin. I mean, if Draymond Green can't do it to Anthony Edwards, then they can't nobody do it, right? I'm here for it. I think that though, if you think about it, the Sixers have won just about every matchup in the past 3 seasons that they've had with the Timberwolves, except one. Except one. So the Timberwolves have an opportunity to change that narrative that when they play against the Sixers, they always lose. So I think this will be the game that they can change that. And in order to do that, they're going to have to come ready to play. And I think they've been doing that all season. So, and the Timberwolves have upsetted major teams this season. Boston, the Nuggets, Sixers, are you next?
Yeah, and they beat Golden State twice. Interesting about Mike Conley at his age, he has turned more into a floor general than anything, and that has helped Anthony Edwards and Carl Anthony Towns and even Rudy Gobert get busy. And I love that about him. But he's going to need some help going up against Maxey, the Energizer Bunny. I mean, how could Conley at 36 keep up with Tyrese Maxey at
I don't
23?
think it's going to be Conley. I think it's going to be Anthony Edwards. It's going to be a different match because this is when what they call it. This is a positionless league. This is probably when this will take place because for me, I know the likelihood of position is supposed to be, but I don't see Conley in his second stint with the Minnesota Timberwolves doing that. Not to the Energizer Bunny and Tyrese Maxey. Oh no. But Ant Edwards, maybe. I don't know how they'll do it, but they'll figure it out. I'm quite sure. But again, if it is the matchup between the point guards Tyrese Maxey and Mike Conley, you still got to contend with Anthony Edwards anyway. So
At
even
some
if
point.
Maxey gets his, I can rest assured that Ant's gonna go get his as well. So we're gonna
Mhm.
have that. I think really the more will is Will, Cat and Gobert. How will they be able to contain Joel Embiid? See, that's what I'm going to be looking for, or if they can do it, because I don't know if anybody can. Right? What will that look like in the paint? How will that happen? That's what I'm going to be looking forward to seeing.
Okay. I think the Minnesota Timberwolves actually have more size than the Philadelphia 76ers because if you look at it,
Mm-hmm.
I think they need to dust off Mo Bamba for the Sixers. I mean, he's a 7-foot body. If they're going to play big,
Yeah.
because I think the Minnesota Timberwolves have the advantage. You got Gobert at 7'1", Carl
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Towns 7 foot, and then if you think about the Sixers, you only got Batum at 6'8",
Mm-hmm.
backing up Embiid, or Rocco at 6'7".
Mhm.
The Wolves just have more size. And that's why, if you remember, the Denver Nuggets had the most trouble with the Minnesota
They
Timberwolves because of their size.
and I was somebody said that was their word. That was the toughest matchup.
Bruce
You know,
Brown.
yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. So, what more can we ask for? So I think that's where for me the game may be won or lost right up in what we're talking about right now. Who's
Hmm.
going to be managing that paint piece is going to be huge. So I like to see what
Yes.
happens. Yeah.
Yes, I think one of the challenges for the 76ers is they play the night before at
Yeah, I
home,
know.
a
I know.
nationally televised game, and then you have to play the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are
Mhm,
playing some
mhm.
of their best basketball right now, and
Yep.
travel to Minnesota too. So, ooh, that's a tough
Yeah,
stretch
and
for them.
and not only that, it's the team that they're playing, right? And so they're playing the Cleveland Cavaliers on their back to back, and they played a back to back earlier this year,
Yeah.
and I think it was with the Indiana Pacers, and they lost the game. So
Yep.
how do they handle back to backs? This will be another opportunity for them to showcase the fans that we can do back to backs as well. But when that first game in the first of the back to back is against a team that's going to come at you, now the Cleveland Cavaliers may not understand, they might not be doing so well, but they can still give the Sixers a run for their money and make them super tired for the next day, right? And so I
Mhm.
can't wait to see how the Sixers show up in that second game of a back to back when they're playing the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's going to be something to look forward to, which could be an advantage to the Wolves.
Absolutely, because I think the Sixers and the Wolves both have shown us they can put together 8, 7, 9 game winning streaks. So they're very capable.
Mhm,
But what will
mhm.
happen with this game?
Yeah, I agree. Timberwolves actually are ranked number one in defense right now,
Can't
and
touch that.
and number one in mid game range percentages. So they just the Timberwolves are doing it, and I don't know. I think defense. They say defense wins championships. Will defense win this game against the Minnesota Timberwolves against the Philadelphia 76ers? It may be, especially since the Sixers are coming off a back to back. I mean, going on to second of a back to back. So I
Yeah,
don't
so
know.
since we're talking about defense, Pat Bev will be on the receiving end of the culture he created with the
That's
Minnesota
true.
Timberwolves,
That's
because
true.
that's all you get from Pat Bev is some defense. So maybe he'll be healthy because he don't really
Maybe.
play a lot of minutes. He ain't scoring a lot of points. Defense is his superpower. So maybe we'll see it kicked up a notch against
Yeah.
his old team.
I often wonder, when we're talking about matchups like this, especially when you're talking about, when you talk about playoff matchups, the bench comes into effect, right? And so, what do these bench players do? Because eventually, some of these starters will need to sit down. They're not going to play the full 48 minutes. We know that, right? So, I was looking at the bench, the Wolves bench versus the Sixers bench, and I'm like, ooh, the Sixers bench look a little nice. Looks a little nice. And so, but the Wolves bench got some nice young players on there as well. See, one thing about the Sixers bench, although Batum and you got Rocco and you got Marcus Morris, who you're a fan of,
Yeah.
they're a little aged. We're talking about basketball age, right? But then I'm looking at the Wolves and we're looking at Nikhil Walker Alexander, Shake Milton, who used to be a Philadelphia 76ers. Will he come in and say, watch me do this on this new team? I don't know, right? And then you got Kyle Anderson and
Yeah.
Nas Reed.
Ooh,
So
yeah.
I
Yeah.
know, young, ready. It may be something to watch for.
Yeah, and Daniel House has been playing really good, yeah, for the Philadelphia 76ers.
You
That's
know
just
what?
that's an added bonus for them right now.
They need that youth, and not only House, but also Springer. I mean,
Mhm.
that last game I watched him play, I said, "Oh, welcome to the league." I liked his bounciness, and I think that's one of the things that helps. Maybe it's their youth that they need, right? And so the Philadelphia 76ers have that, especially on their bench as well with House and Springer. I like both of them, but if they unleash Nikhil Alexander on defense, I don't know
He
what to expect.
he's
Yeah,
SGA. He's just like
yeah,
SGA on the
yeah. I
on the
know.
break.
I
Yeah.
cannot wait to see it. I can't wait to see how they'll use. I can't wait to see how the bench for both teams, how they'll integrate themselves into this game, and how they will help. What they will do in order to get stops, create wins, create plays. I can't wait to see that.
Yes, yes, definitely looking forward to it. But the Timberwolves are hard to beat at home. And all the obstacles we talked about for the Philadelphia 76ers, I think it's going to be really tough for them. So I
Mhm.
have Minnesota Timberwolves
Me
beating
too.
the Philadelphia 76. I
I
do,
do
I
too.
do.
And my reason is because number one, it's a second of a back to back. That's number one. And their first game that they play, the Sixers play, is going to be with Cleveland. So that's one of the reasons why. And the Wolves, their top defense right now. And I think that's going to probably trip up the Philadelphia 76ers a bit.